Okay, here we are adjusting the linkage for the power shaft clutch foot pedal. Now on late 20 series and 30 series tractors, the power shaft clutch has a two-piece pedal that is actually spring-loaded, and basically the difference between it and the early 20 series, the early 20 series had a one-piece pedal. Both the engagement and the disengagement, what you put your foot on, were made in one casting, and it did not have a brake lock. So you really relied, and your brake adjustment was perhaps a little more crucial. This design allowed for a positive brake lock so that it positively engaged the lock on the brakes, so everything should be good. Now, since we've adjusted our power shaft clutch by the book and put it in, we're going to say, it was supposed to be in the ballpark. So the next step is we need to adjust the quadrant that this little peg on the pedal travels through. Now, to adjust this, we've got to have the nut on the back side just a little loose, just enough so it releases pressure between the nut and your first reduction housing ear. And we need to make sure this jam nut is loose, and the slotted screw, if you will, in it is also loose. And this may take a torch. We actually had to heat it with a torch, and I replaced it with a new nut and cleaned up the threads so we would be able to adjust it. But with it engaged, the idea is the end result we want is when this pedal is pushed forward to engage, that this quadrant limits the travel of the pedal. The reason that's important is on 20 and some 30 series tractors, the light bar actually comes out right here from this little cork, and the light will be sitting right here in this area. And this pedal could interfere and actually hit that light bar. We don't want that to happen. If that does happen, the idea is we would actually screw this, loosen the jam nut in, screw that jam screw in tighter so that it limits the forward travel of the pedal, because it'll actually, when the clutch engages, it actually goes over center just a little bit, and you can keep on going. So that's what that does, it limits it. Now when we disengage, we push on this pedal, the inertia from disengaging it when you stomp it down should lock this little peg right here, and there's sort of a recessed area in this slot. That's what actually positively engages the power shaft clutch brake. And when this is engaged, we know that the linkage is approximately set in the ballpark. There is an adjustment down on the end of this rod, and you may not be able to see it real well with this light. There's a yoke and a pin and a jam nut. Normally this is just used for adjusting the brake. However, if you've disassembled it and you don't really know, well, how far was the yoke on the engagement rod to start with, you don't know that, you've got to start from somewhere. If for some reason, and I think we just got lucky actually, because we did take this apart, heated it with a torch and cleaned up the threads and chased it with a tap and a die to make sure it's easy to adjust. But it is important to note that if your pedals aren't in the right spot, it's probably because this yoke is adjusted improperly. And you just have to play with it. If you can't actually push the pedal forward enough, even with this adjustment up here, we'll have to actually lengthen this rod so that it gives it enough length to engage the power shaft clutch over center. Or it may be the other way around, and your brake actually doesn't engage, and then we would need to shorten this rod. It's really a process of trial and error. And this definitely comes into play where I can't stress enough having your service bulletin to show how to properly set it up. And of course, if you've got a 50, 60, 70, 80, or an R, the adjustment procedure for the clutch and the brake is certainly unique to those models, and you've got to have a service guide. So next what we're going to do is engage and disengage the foot pedal, and using on our indicator rod on the late 20 and all the 30 series, check and see is our power shaft clutch properly engaged. And from what I'm feeling for the time being, there's enough force required to put it over center. It's probably adjusted pretty close. We're actually going to do it the scientific way and by the book and check it out.